I'm Mark Schofield from Inside the Pylon and the Bleacher Report NFL 1000 project. Many football talent evaluators, myself included, expected a breakout season from Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett in 2016. The shifty wideout from Kansas State notched 39 receptions for 559 yards and a touchdown as a rookie in 2015, and when combined with his effectiveness on special teams as a returner, it was anticipated that Lockett would be a big component of the Seattle offense this season. However, that breakout season might still be a year away. Lockett had a slow start in Week 1 against the Dolphins, and while he did have 99 yards received in Week 2 against the Rams, the bulk of his year has been somewhat quiet. That changed a little bit on Thursday night against those very same Los Angeles Rams. Lockett caught 7 passes for 130 yards and his first touchdown of the season against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. The receptions and yardage numbers were a season high for Lockett. This begs the question, has anything changed? Are the Seahawks using him differently? Is he quickly developing into better form? Or did he take advantage of another game against the Rams and some mistakes in their secondary? The verdict, as we'll see from the film, is somewhat mixed. We're going to look at first at 2 plays from the Thursday night game. This first comes from the first quarter. There's about 3 minutes and 15 seconds or so left in the first quarter. The Seahawks face a 3rd-and-9 situation. Lockett is split to the left, and as you can see from the play out, he runs a vertical route. The defensive back is in press alignment. He chooses not to jam him at the line of scrimmage. Rather, uses sort of catch-man technique. Doesn't get a jam on him. We'll see some good and bad stuff here from Lockett. The good stuff is he gets a good release to the outside, gets separation on his route, and makes a nice adjustment to the ball at the catch point. Now, in getting that release, I think he uses a little bit too much in the way of footwork. You can't argue with the result, but the process he takes to get there is something to look at as you evaluate him and think about his ability moving forward as a receiver in the National Football League. You'll see the good, clean release. Defensive back doesn't jam him. But you see a number of steps that he takes as he first comes to the inside to set up his break to the outside. There's 3, 4, 5, some shuffle steps here, and then he gets to the outside. He gets away with it because of his speed, and then great adjustment to the ball. See all the steps that he takes. Again, it's hard to argue with the result, but the process that he takes to get there is something that you have to keep in mind. Some defensive backs might not let him get away with that many steps. They might jam him at some point during that route, and then the timing of the route is off. Everything gets thrown off with the play, and then he might not be able to get off the jam. So while it's a good result and a great adjustment to the ball, you'd like to see a little bit more quickness into his break and how he sets it up and then how he breaks to the outside. This next play comes from the 4th quarter. It's a 3rd and 11 situation. This is Lockett's touchdown. He's split to the bottom of the screen, split to the right, and he's going to run a vertical route. Since it's 3rd and long here, Los Angeles is in basically a Tampa 2 shell. You see the 2 deep safeties, one to the top of the screen here, one at the bottom of the screen on Lockett's side of the field. We've got the underneath defenders here, shaded in purple, and then this middle linebacker here is going to drop into that intermediate, middle zone that you see customary in Tampa 2 coverage. Lockett runs the vertical route. We get a dig here from the slot receiver, and then sort of a bent vertical route here. And this receiver is going to come to the inside and then work back to the outside. The player I really want you to keep an eye on is this safety. This is a 3-by-1 alignment from the offense. We've got a single receiver here, Lockett, and then 3 receivers here. That makes this safety a little bit wary of the middle of the field. With that 3-by-1 alignment, he's afraid that we're going to get maybe a seam route here and another seam here, in which case he's going to have to rotate over somewhat. So this kind of has the safety in a box pre-snap. What he does, he rotates a little bit too far this way. This corner drops a bit, but since it's covered 2, he's expecting a little bit more help to the outside. Remember, this is that soft spot of cover 2. One of the soft spots of cover 2 at least. Lockett does a good job of sort of getting into that area. The safety rotates a bit too much towards the middle of the field. The defensive back doesn't carry him fully because he's expecting help, and it adds up to sort of an opening in the coverage that Lockett is able to exploit. See, Lockett comes in, then he gets himself into this area. Now, Again, that safety's rotated towards the middle of the field a bit, expecting maybe a couple of vertical routes coming this way. That leaves this area of the field wide open. There's no pressure from that safety. This cornerback to the play side is expecting some help from that safety. It's not there. Lockett does a good job tracking the ball in flight and getting open. But that plays more an example of the secondary making a mistake or the design of the play enabling the Lockett, the receiver, to have a good play. But it's not so much the individual effort from the receiver. It's a great result, but the verdict on Lockett's ability on the play is a little bit mixed because of the way the Rams defend the play. So in looking at Lockett, I decided to go back and look at some of his routes from previous weeks to see if anything has changed, if he's being used differently. And we see a lot of the similar stuff. Vertical routes from Lockett, split to the outside, usually as a single receiver, try to get him isolated in space. Here's a route from week 13 against the Carolina Panthers. See, he's going to run a vertical route from the left here. The cornerback shows press coverage, but he bails a bit at the snap, which basically just turns it into a foot race. And as you'll see this time, Lockett, very speedy receiver, but when you get a lot of cushion like we're going to get here, it's tough for almost anybody to outrun that. He does his best. Wilson makes the throw, but there's no separation. Here's a route from week 12 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, he split to the outside. This time there's a slot receiver inside of him. Again, pre-snap cushion. Lockett actually does get separation here, but similar to the first play we saw, there's a lot of movement, a lot of steps taken to get there. Maybe it throws the timing of the route off. You see, he comes inside, then works back to the outside, widens a bit, passes overthrown. So again, when you're looking at Tyler Lockett in his sophomore year, we're seeing some good stuff that he's done, some development that he's made as a receiver, particularly at the catch point. But we can also see that there's some areas to improve. On that first route, I've talked about it a bit. The footwork, getting into and getting out of that break up the field, there's a lot of steps taken there. He could cut those down because, again, not all defensive backs are going to play off technique like this defender does on the first play. If at some point the defender tries to jam him, I might throw the entire route structure off. So while Lockett might be rounded into some improved form, that breakout season we were all expecting at the start of the year might still be a year away. Thanks for watching this week's edition of Scouting with Schofield. I'll be back next week looking at some of the Week 16 action. Until then, I wish all the readers and viewers of the NFL 1000 Project and Inside the Pylon a safe and happy holiday season.